Okay, so we'll get started. Thanks again for joining us, folks. Looks like we have just under 30 people on here currently, and hopefully a few more will join as well as we get going. I will also be recording the call and sending out this PowerPoint deck to the group as well. So if you miss anything or if others weren't able to join, we will make sure they get the information too. So kickoff for our 2021-22 College Showcase program for Harbor. It's a program that we have been running for a number of years, but we are happy to, we're excited to kick it off again this year. Some of you that are on the call have already participated in the program previously, and others of you are new to it. So the PowerPoint deck will have some repetitive information for those that have been with us before, and will be new for those that haven't. But we'll go through the deck and then have a chance to answer any questions. And then I'll show you kind of the next steps and where we go from there. One second. Okay, so program overview. Who's eligible for the program? First of all, it's the freshmen and older. So freshmen this fall, upcoming and older. Training, teams will train on the field as a college showcase team as we lead up to the travel events, but that will not be training every week, onwards from this point forward together. We will do classroom sessions together as well as events that we'll mention here later together, but it won't be a consistent training schedule all the way through the rest of the year. Most of the focus on this program is not only the showcases that we'll travel to, but the focus on the work behind the work that needs to happen in the recruiting process, and helping build profiles and get information in front of college coaches for that recruiting process to begin and to continue on all the way up until when they are ready to hopefully head off to a college. Why is there a need for this program in particular? Not all of our Harbor Premier members that are on our current teams really aspire to play at that next level in college. So therefore, it's hard for us often to put together or to have our team travel to some of the additional events due to the additional expenditure that comes with that, when not all the players want to participate in that next level. But in the flip side of that, we do want to provide an opportunity for those that do wish to pursue collegiate athletics, collegiate soccer, to do these events. So hence why we have this program and why we combine teams and ages in order to make these events happen. We also want to, really identify and assist those players that want to play at the next level. We want to make sure that we help them as much as we can, work hand in hand with them to get that work behind the work done and get the best possible, opportunity for them to play at the next level, at whichever level that may be, but beyond Harbor Premier. What does the program entail this year? One of the new additions for this year will be an elite level membership in NCSA, which is Next College Student Athlete. A tremendous program for optimizing recruiting possibilities. So each member of the showcase program will get an elite level membership in that program. We'll do classroom sessions, again, as I said, focused on the NCSA and the College Fit Finder, using them as recruiting tools, how to use them effectively, and how to get your name out there with colleges, as well as what to do once they contact you, and how to have those conversations with college coaches, what they may be looking for in helping answer those questions and things of that nature. We'll do local college campus tours. Coach Rob Walker is on the call here with us, one of our coaches here in the Premier side, as well as the current St. Martin's men's coach. We will most likely tour the campus down there, as well as get involved with their program a bit. Also TCC, UPS, Highline, we've done before. We may add others in there. Local college game observation and interactions with the coaching staff if possible. We last time we ran the program pre-pandemic, we were at both a UW game and a UPS game, where we were able to, on both sides, we were able to interact with those coaches and at least have a touch base with them and talk a little bit Q&A. Field sessions run here on our home fields by local college coaches. Who that will be this time is not solidified yet, but we've had a number of coaches from all around the area. The coaches I've already mentioned, as well as others, come here to our fields and run a session for an evening. Interact with the kids, really gives them a chance to uh, speak with them, Q&A, see them in a one-on-one environment, and to really get that exposure that we're looking for. 3 college showcase events this year, as we'll talk about here in a moment, 3 travel events, and then assistance with fundraising in the event setup and execution to help with the costs associated with those events. All right, NCSA, if you're not familiar with that, this is just a brief slide that explains what the elite level membership gets you, and it would be a paid membership if you do it on your own, but it does get you a ton of resources, and the NCSA profile build and also the recruiting tools are tremendous. They really do help those athletes that want to get to the next level get there. So I'm excited to add them into the program this year. College Fit Finder we've used previously, and those that have been with the program before already have profiles built, as well as teams this year that have gone to showcase events have already built out their profiles as well. Just another tool we use to help get our players exposure. And events for this year, the first will be the Portland Timbers Alliance Showcase, ID Camp and Tournament. The ID Camp happens on the 9th of December in Portland. It's a one evening event, and the camp's completely run. The event's completely run by the college coaches. They run the players through the sessions, and you have the interaction one-on-one with those players. A good event for the one night, and then following the night, you have the actual tournament on the 10th, 11th, and 12th, and that's in a variety of fields there down in the Portland area. We will travel together for this event from Gig Harbor in vans or bus to the hotel, to the ID camp tournament, so on and so forth, and completely treated as kind of a college road trip where everything is handled by the staff here in the club. Parents are welcome to travel down and, of course, observe the games as well, but it'll be completely separate from the players going down. I did put on there that this event, because it's in December, it's not quite when school is out yet, so it does require 2 days of school to be missed, Thursday and Friday. You may be able to attend school early Thursday morning. We probably won't leave until midday, but we do have to get down there for the ID camp that evening. So it's something to consider for those that are going to be back in school this year, of course, not doing it remotely. Second event is our Las Vegas Mariners Cup. That is on President's Day weekend this year, or next year, sorry, 2022, February 19th through the 21st. We've gone multiple years now with our showcase programs as well as individual teams before that. Really love this event. Great run event. They give you 4-game guarantee. Ton of college coaches there. There were nearly 200 coaches in attendance in 2020. Easy access to get to Vegas, of course, with tons of flights going in and out of there, and lots of housing options, accommodation options as well. And we just have a great time down there, not only with the soccer, but also the additional experiences that we can do. Again, I'm not going to go through the links that are on the pages here. I'll send out the PowerPoint later, and you can click on the links and see the advertising video for the tournament, as well as the bottom link there, which shows all the attendees on the scouting side in the 2020 event. And then a new ad this year, and this one is going to take some kind of feedback to see how it works, but we're going to give it a shot, is the Real Colorado College Showcase, which is the Memorial Day weekend in 2022. It is one of the higher rated showcases events nationwide. It's a great event attended by tons of college coaches because of both the location being in Denver, as well as the timing and the time of the year when that event's held. Works well with college coaches' schedules for that. The one thing that's the kind of the caveat here that we have to figure out is that it does technically fall into the 2022-23 Harbor Premier season. So it's post tryouts for next year, but the planning and registration and whatnot needs to happen this season, this year. So we need to plan this early in order for it to happen. Included in that is that our current seniors on our oldest boys team will be aged out of the program by that time, or will be, the team will be done at that time for the current team. They could still attend the event, that we'd be able to make that work, no problem. But it is, again, post tryouts for the next season technically. So it's a little bit different. All right. Most of the questions typically around the program come from the financial side of it and what the commitment will be financially. Here's a bit of an idea of a final budget from Vegas the last time we participated, what we estimated originally and what it ended up coming out to be. So you can see that we were relatively close on our final number, but some things were higher than others. I'll mention it later, but I'll say it here as well. The airfare only gets more expensive as you get closer to events. So we're starting, trying to get this rolling earlier this year and get the commitments from folks that they're in to go. And we can try to book flights sooner rather than later and probably get it at quite a discount from what we paid in 2020, since we were waiting till late in the game to book those flights. I think we booked them maybe even in late December, early January to get there. So that's why it was a little bit more expensive around that. Also, that weekend's President's Day weekend, and it is obviously a bigger event or bigger weekend down there in Las Vegas. So the cost only goes up as the flights get more and more scarce. Estimations for this year. So again, these aren't final, these are just the estimates. And just to give you an idea, this is where the Portland estimated number came from in the earlier email, and the breakdown of each one of the items that we would have expenditures for. Las Vegas, same there. And the anticipated expenditures there, we have a relatively good idea here on this one since we've gone many times now with many teams. So that should be pretty darn close. And then finally, the Denver event. Haven't done this one recently with any teams, but have some good insight from a team or number of teams that just got back from a different club. And this is right where the ranges were that they were able to come in at for their teams to go. All right, and so total program registration will be $250 this season. That's an upfront cost for the program to get us off the ground and running with booking in the events, as well as when we do bring the college coaches out to our fields, we provide them with a gift card as well to thank them for coming out here. So all that program registration is to kind of cover the overhead for the club and those aspects. And then the direct cost of the events are passed along to the players for each of the travel events. So there's no markup on those. That's exactly what we end up having to pay. And if there's any budget overages or underages, we reconcile everything after the event when we have all the final numbers from the food and the hotels and everything that we can't have the exact number until after the event. And we get that back to the parents or, settle up with an additional cost if there's anything extra. And the total per player estimate there in the range. Fundraising. So we do understand it's quite an expenditure for families. We have many opportunities in fundraising, things we can put out there. Again, that kind of comes back to the interest from the families and how many would like to participate in those events. Hopefully, if we get a number of families that wish to participate in the fundraising, we can raise quite a bit of money in different events we run. So some events we've already, I guess we shouldn't say scheduled on there, we've already tentatively planned them out with other manners right now. So we can definitely utilize those, as well as other ones that we plan that you guys have probably heard of that are either local, such as car washes and things of that nature, to more structured events like snap raise and things of that nature that companies now provide that you can do kind of online and raise money for events that you're going to. About $6,000 was raised in the previous time the boys went the trip. And then if we do a fundraising, we'll try to get a fundraiser coordinator and committee and spearhead the process so that we can make that as beneficial as possible for all involved. All right, so I got one more slide after this, but before we get there, we'll pause there and answer questions. If anybody has any questions in particular this time, please unmute yourself and go for it.
Yeah, this is Ken Cruzy. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, so just a stupid question, I guess. These teams are obviously going to be composite.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. Well, here's the one thing about that. I had a question about that from our older boys team last night. They said, well, why can't our whole team just go together? And that's exactly why we have this to start with. So if everybody on one of the teams, whether it be, let's just say my 06 green team, all of a sudden said they all want to go to the Vegas event, then the need for this college showcase program may not be as needed in that certain event, but we could put that whole team in. So it's really dependent on what the interest level is and where the players fall from there. But yes, composite is typically what we end up having with these teams.
And do you guys have like I don't know, a success rate thing, or is it just kind of, I don't know, how successful have you guys been with this program?
Hard to say on what the success rate is as far as overall what success we're looking for. I guess if the success is looking for how many of the athletes that go through the college showcase program end up playing collegiately, that would be a tough one to say right now, because many of the players that have been in the program are still in the program from the last few years, or they came in at a younger age.
Right.
We do have some success from some of our older players. Most recently, I guess I would say probably is I'm sure they'd be willing to let me share this too, is Brant Kelly, who is playing at PLU currently, was in our showcase program for a number of years. The Jansen boys are playing down at Point Loma Nazarene that were in our showcase program, as well as Henry Porteous, who's playing at Chapman as well. So I mean, there's some success stories for sure, and there's others that have gone on that haven't landed collegiate soccer spots as well. Is it because of the program, or is it because of maybe them not pursuing the work behind the work as much? So it is, we'll do everything we can, put it that way. But a lot of that success rate still goes back to the player and the dedication behind the scenes to get their name out there.
Gotcha. Thanks.
When do we have to make a decision on whether we do the team or not?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I would like, as I mentioned earlier, the longer we have to wait on team formation, the more expensive the trips typically get. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to make a decision tonight or tomorrow, but I would like to say that, by mid-August, I have a solid answer from everybody who's interested in the program, whether they want to do it or not. And that's, giving you a few weeks essentially, but that would give me a fair amount of time to get these events registered for, make sure that we get in, because a lot of them fill up early, make sure that we are planning the trip portion, the logistics portion early to get the best prices we can, things of that nature.
Thank you.
Okay, so I was wondering if you have to commit to all 3 events, because I know as like a senior and like a couple other seniors are wondering that since we're gonna like age out and be out of Harbor by then and most likely committed to a college already before the Denver one, do we have to commit to that as well, or can we just commit to the Vegas and the Portland one?
Yeah, I think in the case of the seniors, and that was what I was thinking as well when I was putting this all together. In case of the seniors, I would be happy to explore that and say, that third event is not. I would like to see I'd like to have the interest levels still come back from the seniors and say, hey, we were interested in the first 2, but not the third, because just that reason, we'll be late in our senior year, and we'll judge from there. So I'm going to say for those senior folks, they don't have to commit to all 3 of those, because it would be late in the game for them for sure.
Perfect, thank you.
I had a question on the NCSA membership. So currently we're getting either an email, phone call, or texts even from them, I'd say at least every other day, wanting to contact or connect about setting up a profile and getting us started. We've been reluctant. We haven't responded to any of them yet. If I mean, do we need to wait until you're signed up and registered and before starting that process with them?
So NTSA, those of you that attended Crossfire Challenge had a scouting zone, I think is where they got your name and information. It was one of the events anyways, where you put your information in. NTSA is tied in with that. I had a long discussion with their account manager yesterday, conference call with him. If you're doing it at an individual level, they do pursue it. It's essentially they're trying to do sell that product to you. So you will get consistently emails and whatnot to try to talk to them about getting yourself into that program. In our case, we're purchasing a team edition program, so it will get you out of the individual, but it's the same. You're getting the same product, but you're doing it on a club level. So that'll obviously you won't need to do both. Put it that way. So, and they'll identify you as already being a client of theirs once you're in with the club on the club level. So yeah, you don't need to do the individual one and do this one. It's the same product. That answer the question, I think.
Pretty much. I think it was more along the lines of, I mean, if they're contacting us now, should we kind of tell them what's going on so that they kind of know that we'll be probably becoming a member soon through the club level, as opposed to starting anything with them individually in advance, or if something would transfer.
Yeah, you could. I think that like I said, you're probably going to continue to get contact from them until you tell them something like that. So if you wanted to let them know that Harbor, and again, they'll have knowledge of it. Hopefully, maybe not on the individual sales level, but the company has knowledge of us starting a program with them now. So yeah, that would help to alleviate that individual contact, and we can get as soon as I have the commitment of the players into this program, we will be getting them the login information for their individual accounts. Other questions, folks? Got a red thing here. Let's see. Chat. A question about maximum team amount. I'm guessing that's number of players on the team. We'll shoot for that around 16 per team on this one, depending on the interest level. And because we want to have a decent number there, but we also want to leave some room as well. So we don't want to overload our bench and make sure we get enough playing time for everybody that's involved in the program. Coach Rob, I know I'll put you on the spot here. Do you have anything to say about the program or anything about the recruiting process at all that may be of interest?
Well, sorry, I hope you can hear me. I'm live from my patio and there's traffic, so I hope you can hear me. I think that this is a really good idea for soccer clubs to take on, because I think it starts to hone in on players that need that little bit something extra. When teams go to events en masse, the lack of the work that the players don't do to get a good bang for their buck definitely stands out. So I think that that's an important piece, and you've kind of talked about the work behind the work, Jason. So that's important. The thing is that you've got, I don't have a lot of experience with NCSA. I have quite a bit more with College Fit Finder. And the thing that gets underused with College Fit Finder are the search tools to find schools that might fit a player's want list to get started. There are many ways to develop those lists, and that's one of the to-do items that anybody from their sometime in their freshman year should probably start thinking about, and then that should become solidified a little bit later. So, preparing to do the work and sort of being knowledgeable about what the options are really important. So that's my one thing. I think that there's a lot of room to for players to get options here. Let me just throw a couple things out, because the question about what's your success rate piqued my interest. And for a normal youth soccer club like we are, and most clubs in Washington are, what I would do is I would take this into account. Got about, if you take a look at all the area high school teams that service our club, so 10, 12, 14 high schools, say, for both boys and girls, for about 4.5% of the players that are varsity lettermen during their time in high school will become collegiate athletes. So with that little bit of realism, you really have to do the work behind the work to get yourself moving forward. So there's a lot of self-recruiting that happens, and that's, as I work with players on the college side, I sometimes get involved in their self-recruiting and give some tips for that. But definitely on the youth side, I think that's a really big deal. So just keeping that in mind. So when you think about success, and Jason, you mentioned some names that I know. If you take a look at the under 19 teams, if you have 3 or 4 players going off to play collegiately at one level or another, you're basically meeting by more than 4.5%. So anyway, that's something to kind of think about. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate that. A little bit of insight there from not only one of our coaches again, but a current college coach out there in the landscape. So, and coach will be involved with this program and helping us a little bit in that process too, and showing us what we can do, as well as I said, probably touring his campus and looking at his program a little bit down there in Lacey. So with that being said, we'll proceed to our last slide here, which is the next steps. All right, so the next steps is your decision as families, as players, to commit to this program for the College Showcase program. And again, that's by responding to me and letting me know that you're interested and that you are wanting to jump into the program. I'll briefly reach out to you, kind of an interview / acceptance into the program, make sure it's the right fit, make sure you're dedicated to doing that work behind the work, and that's just something that you want. And once that happens, then we will get you the registration link and the $250 collected for the payment. And then that'll give me confirmation of the number of players, number of teams we'll have. At that time, I can go ahead and apply for the events and hopefully be offered official acceptance to the event and finalize that piece of it. Once the application's accepted and we are in for sure, then we go into the logistics and planning portion of it, getting the hotels booked, getting the flights booked, if need be, getting all the little bits and pieces buttoned up so I can get the accurate numbers to you budget-wise on that. Sooner we get to that point right there, probably the less expensive the total cost of the trip will be. At that point, I'll be able to give a budget revision and ask for the payments for the events. And in this piece here, just some common questions. Payment plans may be available. You'll communicate with myself and Shannon on that if you desire to break it up into payments. And we can definitely do our best to work with you there. And then any of the fundraising we do, any of the allocations from that will be in form of a refund after the budget reconciliation is completed and after the event, because we have to make sure that all of that ties in and gets reconciled before we can give anything out on that. And then as I mentioned before, a post-event, we'll do a final reconciliation and make sure that everybody gets the information of what the event actually costs, so you can see if it was over budgeted or under budgeted, and what would happen there if we were over budget and we collected too much, is we'd refund it back out, and if we're under, we'll need to get collection of the additional funds, but we anticipate it would be minimal amount there at that point. So that is, sorry, we got one more question came into the chat here. I'll answer that one. Would it be a good program for a player to get better, but not necessarily want to play in college in addition to the regular team, or or is it just for a kid who wants to play soccer in college? I think at the older ages, talking to our U19 ages, the program is pretty much dedicated for those players that want to play in college. If we're talking in younger ages, our freshmen will be 07s or 06s even. They may not have made a final decision on whether they're going to play in college or not. And this program will be great to get them that exposure and kind of know what that next step and what that would look like, right? Traveling together, being in an environment together, playing against high level competition from around the country. So in short answer there is, I think the younger ages, it makes sense that a player doesn't have to be 100% dedicated to college yet. But the older ages, I would think it would be more appropriate that they are. Another one came through, additional practices. How many additional practices will the boys have? Again, that one will be dependent on, we won't practice week to week. Players will continue with their current team practices and the Ranger session. But as we get closer to the event, we'll put in practices specifically for these teams to make sure that they're together and have the idea together as we go. Another question, do we have to pay for all 3 of the events, or can we pay for one of them to attend that certain event? So the seniors can opt out of the 3rd event. They just need to let me know early on that, because it'll probably change the dynamic of whether we can do that event or not, depending on the numbers. And then for everyone else, we're asking for the commitment to the 3 events. Now, if there's someone that says, hey, I've already got plans to travel somewhere on that weekend in particular, please still show interest in the program and get in contact with me so I can see where those numbers land. We may be able to work it out where one of the events could be missed, something of that nature, but I need to know the numbers in each one of those areas and make sure that we still have viable teams for the events before I can make those promises. Otherwise, we'll end up with, 12 at one event, 16 for one event, and so on and so forth. So just want to see where we land there. So if you are in that boat where you're not looking at doing all 3, but are still interested, please let me know and let me know why and what the events are that you're most interested in, and I'll see what we can do. Definitely don't want to say it's all or nothing right now on the call and scare people off in any manner. I want to make sure that we get as many players involved in this as we can. Okay. It looks like we've cleared all the questions out of the chat, and unless anybody else has anything else, give it a couple seconds here. Go ahead and speak up if you have any other questions. All right, perfect. Well, you guys know how to get a hold of me. I'm heading to the field right now with the older boys. And at any other time, you can reach me via email or phone or text, and happy to answer questions about this, but please be in contact as soon as you can about now that you've seen this presentation, that your interest level, and let's get this rolling and get the boys off to these events. Thank you very much. Have a great night, everybody. I will have this deck and the recording out to everyone as well for review or sending to other folks too. All right. Thanks much. Talk to you soon.